Hello, guys. Welcome back to the All At Once podcast. As you can see, I have returned home. I am no longer in the glorious, beautiful Bali, and that will be a whole other episode on its own. But today, I have something super exciting. I have two episodes actually coming in, one about Gene Keys. Okay. One about Gene Keys, one about human design. And it was going to be one episode, but there was so much just information and downloads and things coming through that I'm splitting it into two. So it's a lot more digestible for you guys. But please get a notepad and a pen or make sure you're taking notes on your phone because there's so much coming through. And if you guys are listening to this in an audio format and not watching it on YouTube, you might want to jump over to YouTube solely because we are going to be pulling up charts so you guys can actually see what it is we're talking about when we go through the Gene Keys chart and when we go through the human design chart. And without it, if you don't already know what they look like, it might be a little confusing. So that's just something to keep in mind. I have a lady coming on today called Jai Gobind. She is magical when it comes to human design, Gene Keys, astrology, and so many more things. And I actually found her because I was watching a YouTube video of her and someone else going through someone's chart. And it was honestly like the way that she was describing and going through it all, it was so digestible and so understandable. Like I've had my Gene Keys chart read before and I did not understand a single thing. Like I was so lost and I haven't touched it for like 2 or 3 years. Like that was back in 2022, right? And I just haven't used it because it made no sense. It did not it didn't grasp in my brain. And so I really wanted to have Jai come on here and talk to you guys because the way she describes it is so digestible and in a way that you can actually take what she's saying and then bring it into your life and like use it. Like it's not just information that's going in one ear and out the other. It's very much tangible information for you to act on and use. So I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this episode. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background on Jai. She is an astrologer, an intuitive. She reads the Akashic Records. She's a singer, songwriter, jewelry designer, author, and then she also has a company called Channel for Grace. And she also has a program called Moon Goddess Training. So this girl literally does so much. When I say she's so magical, like it's all there. She's also a Gemini sun, a Leo moon, and a Gemini rising, and a 2-4 mental projector with a right angle cross of consciousness. And so through her work, Jai really guides you to deeply connect with your heart space, find the courage to trust your intuition, and align with the healing, sustaining life force of the universe. And it's just so, obviously on par. This is like such a spiritual podcast. And I'm so excited for you guys to listen to this episode. So we go over basically like the Gene Keys and what they are and how to use them. But then when we get to human design, it's a little bit less of a high level overview and we get a little bit deeper. So the human design episode is not really for someone who's coming in and knowing nothing about human design. It's really going into the aspects of human design that we don't get to hear about or really learn about when we go through our chart. So our angles of the cross, we're going to learn about that. We're going to learn about all of our different variables, what the gates mean and like the actual centers mean when they're colored in, when they're not colored in, and all those types of things. So less about this is your energy type, this is your strategy, this is your profile. We're not focusing on those. We're focusing more on the smaller details that kind of get left behind in the mainstream human design chit chat that's all over social media. So when you guys are ready, you've got all your note taking things here. Jump right into the episode because there's just so much. I'm so excited for you guys to listen. Perfect. So, yes, as we transition into human design, okay, so this is what a generic or like typical human design chart would look like. Obviously, I'm a manifester, so
Is this your chart?
this is mine, yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I just opened my account and pulled it up. It was just the easiest thing.
Great.
So can we kind of go over like the basics of it, and then there's some very specific questions I want to ask that I feel there's not a lot of information on, and I want to touch on those because I think that's
Okay.
harder for people to find on their own.
Great. So basically, human design chart has 9 centers, and you can see them in the picture. Some of them are colored in, and some of them are not colored in. Some of them are white. Those are the not colored in ones. The centers that are colored in your chart are the ones where you have consistent energy that you can rely on. And the centers that are not colored in are the centers where you are kind of more susceptible to other people's energy. That's visually, like if you're looking at this, you're like, what are the squares and the triangles? That's what those are. So from the bottom, the very bottom one, if you can point to it, is the root.
Yes, this one right here.
Right above that is the sacral center. To the left is the spleen. To the right of the sacral is the solar plexus center. The one right kind of diagonally above that, the triangle, is the ego center or the heart center. In the center of the chart is the G center. Right above that is the throat. And then it's the ajna. And then it's the head. So each of these have a theme. And within that theme, it holds a certain frequency of information. So we don't have to kind of go into that, but just so you kind of visually understanding that these are centers that give you information about yourself. On the right side, the planet glyphs that are going down the right side of the chart, that says personality at the top. That's basically your natal chart.
Like astrology natal chart?
Yeah.
Okay.
So your sun is at the 22nd gate, line 6. Your earth, which is directly opposite your sun in your chart, is on the 47th gate, line 6. Your moon is on the 43rd gate, line 5, and so on and so forth. And there's north node, south node. That's your natal chart. On the left side, the design side, that is here's how I would describe it. It is a chart from 88 days before you were born. It holds a subconscious frequency. So this design side has a lot to do with your body and how your body just knows and just kind of does its thing. Your body doesn't really need guidance. Your body's just going to do what like it knows deeply within its bones, like what it's here for, what it's here to do, how it's here to move. Right? So it's the subconscious. These are things, all these gates that are colored in red, and then in the middle picture, they are going to be the red lines.
So like here.
Yes.
Here.
So these are things that you are not aware of, subconscious, unconscious of. And then the personality lines, which are the black lines, that is what you are probably aware of within yourself. So the conscious energy can be influenced by conditioning, like by you growing up and having parents, by living, they can be influenced by conditioning from your external environment and relationship. The red lines can't. You
Interesting.
can't
Okay, I didn't know
change.
that.
The red lines are solid. Like those are almost things that you can rely on more because it's like they just do their thing unconsciously. But the thing is that it's hard to access that consciously. You just have to trust. You know what I mean? That energy is like there to support you in that way. And then, so that's basically, so then you have 64 gates and they're found within the different spheres with all the numbers.
Yeah.
You can see some of the numbers are circled in purple. So the numbers that are circled in purple, and it's going to be slightly different depending on what program you use, but generally they are circled in some way. Those are your gates. So for example, the 51 right there in the ego center, this person has the 51 gate on a personality planet. And if you look on the right side, you look at Venus, 51.6. So that gate is where your natal Venus is at.
Okay.
And so if you have a planet on a gate, it's going to color in that channel. Okay, so there's channels in between the centers. Those are called channels, like rivers that flow. When half of the channel is colored in either black or red, that's just telling you that you have a gate on the one of those centers. The gate that completes that channel on the other side, on the other center, doesn't have anything on it, then it's a hanging gate. When you have a complete channel, whether it's made by the black lines or the red lines or a combination of both, then, for example, the 1222 in your chart from the throat to the solar plexus, when there's basically that channel is created because you have planets on both of the gates on either side of that channel that are activating it. And so that is communication between those two centers, and it automatically colors in the centers. It defines those centers. The centers are defined because channels have been completed on either side of them. So you have hanging gates and you have channels. And then again, completed channels and centers that are defined are consistent for you. You can rely on that energy of what that center provides. If it's undefined, you can't really rely on it. But the problem is that we sense the undefined energy in us and we think that we're supposed to define it. And that's where we get out of they call it in human design, we start to live in the not self.
Okay. Can you give an example of that? So like for the root, because I think a lot of people will know that like root generally means grounding.
A defined root is if you don't have it defined, you have it undefined, but a defined root would be someone who has the ability to deal with stress and the pressure of life.
Okay.
And that's consistent. And so my husband has a defined root. So he can handle pressure much more easily than me. I have an undefined root. So if you have an undefined root, then stress and pressure is actually not something that you're really meant to deal with. It's like just not the frequency that you were here to learn to do. It's almost like the undefined centers are sort of like where you've already mastered the energy, but they are so sensitive to other people's energy that in a root center where you're not aware of what's going on and you feel stress, you're actually feeling the stress of somebody else. And when you have an
Interesting.
undefined root, because you're not really meant to deal with stress and it's uncomfortable and it's like, I can't. What happens is you tend to rush through things that have to be done because you just want to take the pressure off. It's really uncomfortable. But naturally, you're not really meant to deal with pressure. You let other people deal with the pressure. But
That's
that's,
I can see that for sure within myself.
yeah. So that's just one example. That's a good one because a lot of people, when I first heard that too, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like you get nervous about having to deal with pressure of life and the stress of life. And it's like, yeah. So that's what I would say about that.
It's not my purpose. It's not what I'm here for.
Yeah, it's like stress free. You're supposed to live like a stress free life. Your focus is on your solar plexus, emotions, really deeply,
Yeah.
expressing those emotions through your voice, and just like the process of thinking and understanding things in the world is kind of like that's where you should be. Those are your strengths.
It's funny. I that resonates with me because my most of my chart is water. So
Mm.
it's like I'm very intuitive, very emotional, like
Mm-hmm.
just naturally.
Yeah, yeah. And in other words, it's weird because I use that word, these are your strengths, but I would actually use just this is what you can count on.
Mm.
And you can always strengthen anything, but this is what you can count on. Um, and so if you find yourself trying to, for example, in the example that we gave of the root, deal with stress, it's like not where you're supposed to be doing most of the work, or focusing on. Yeah.
Okay. So when someone like us would find ourselves in that situation, how do we kind of maneuver through it?
Breathe.
Okay.
Take time, recognize that you're feeling the pressure because it's foreign to you and
Mm.
and you want to just get rid of the pressure, but honestly it's like if you could just relax and for a minute just breathe through it. I feel like that, I
Okay.
mean, that would be kind of like personally what I would do. and see if anyone that maybe has a defined root can help you move through that process. Because otherwise, you'll just like stress yourself out in at a level that's intense,
Hmm.
more than the people that have that root defined. You'll feel it
Okay.
more in the undefined centers.
So what do the little arrows like here beside the numbers mean on both sides? Like this one has three pointing up and that side has one pointing down.
So the arrows that point up point to exalted positions,
Okay.
and that's related to astrology. If you know, in astrology, there's dignity, exaltation, detriment, fall position. In human design, they use the exaltation. They only mark the exaltation, and then they also mark the detriment. So upward arrow is exaltation, downward arrow is detriment, and the star is a juxtaposition. Exalted planet would be arrow pointing up. So I mean, this is strong. This energy is
Mhm.
strong, like within your chart, and you tend to lean towards the higher frequencies, like the positive or more gift like frequencies. If we were going to use
Okay.
the example of gene keys, if the arrow is pointing down, that basically is more of a shadow energy of that planet
Okay.
that you are um experiencing, and so you tend to go into like the shadow expression of that. I would say that just generally you
Okay.
tend to lean towards the shadow expression of that. And then sometimes it has a star, and the star is called a juxtaposition, and it basically just means that like you'll kind of radically like jump from the gift to the shadow
Okay.
unpredictably. But here's the other thing that I've heard about these arrows is that at first Ra'uruhu used them, but then he kind of moved away from using them. And I have heard that a lot of other human design readers that they kind of just ignore these now. They don't really put too much emphasis and too much pressure on them because it's like you already have so much to try to understand that if
Yeah.
you add another layer, and it's not that significant because again, within everything, you're like dealing with the conscious, the unconscious. There's just a lot that you're trying to process and integrate. So you can use these arrows and put emphasis on them, or you can choose not to.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Now, there's something that I am very curious about. I don't see it actually even on this chart, but your incarnation angles. What are those? What do they represent? And how can people find them? Because I'm just noticing now, like on this PDF, it's not even there. But on other websites, when I've pulled up my chart, I've had it.
Mm-hmm.
So mine's left incarnation of angle of the cross, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
Of informing.
If you scroll up a little bit, does it show it?
Oh yeah, there it is.
There's 64 gates, and within each gate, there's 6 lines. Remember, we were like looking into the lines, right?
Hmm.
So depending on what line your gate is landing on with your sun, because
Okay.
the crosses are determined by the position of the sun when you're born. And it's a cross because when you look at the circle chart of the astrology and the
Hmm.
connection between those and the gates, your sun right directly on the other side of it is the earth. And then when you like the planets that cross it exactly halfway through the middle
Okay.
are the other two planets, um, and that is determined by the chart that was 88 days before you were born. So if you scroll down a little bit, personality, sun and earth, and design, sun and earth is your incarnation cross.
Okay.
Here's something really cool that these are the same numbers in the activation sequence of the gene keys. So
Really?
yes, I often guide people who want to learn more about their incarnation cross to study the activation sequence of their gene keys.
That was going to be my next question. How can people learn more about it? Because it's there's so minimal information on the crosses.
And that's why I guide people to the gene keys because
Yeah.
it's like there's so much more flavor. in the gene keys and so much more like deep contemplated. That's where it's found, right? Personality Sun Earth, Design Sun Earth. That's your Incarnation Cross. So depending on the lines, and that is obviously that's a little more detailed, so we don't need to get into that. But depending on the lines, you're either going to have a right angle cross, a left angle cross, or a juxtaposition cross. So if you have a right angle cross, according to human design, you are someone who is here not to work on healing karma from the past, from past lives, but to create new karma. So it's kind of like choose your adventure. You will have to pay later. You're creating karma by living in this life. I've sat down and like thought about this, like, what does it mean though? Because I have a right angle cross and I talk about
Ah,
past lives and I talk about South Node in the chart, an astrology chart, and how that represents past life. And they have South Node here in their chart, you know? So I'm like, well, wait a minute, you know, like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not doing any karmic work. So there's different ways that I have sort of come to understand this. One is that in this lifetime, it doesn't mean you don't have karma. You have karma and there's the potential to heal karma in this lifetime from a past life. However, the focus is not on that. The focus is on a new adventure, new experiences that you'll later deal with the karma of, maybe even instantly, right? Because there's like instant karma.
oh yeah.
So karma will be dealt with at some point as you live your life. But you're not dealing with karma from a past life.
Okay.
If you have a left angle cross, you are. Your focus
Brilliant.
is you came here to heal basically from the past life relationships. And so for a right angle cross, the relationships that you jump into are like new adventures. It could be people you've had relationships with in past lives, or it could be people you just meet in this lifetime and there's like an exciting thing you want to learn with that person. So you have an experience. So you've created a soul contract to have a new experience with someone. With a left angle cross, it's more defined. So, like every relationship in your life, you are healing karma from a past life. It's more like predetermined in the lifetime. Whereas
And
the
this isn't
right
just
angle,
romantic. This is all relations.
everything, it's
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. From even the homeless person on the street that you pass by that you gave an apple to or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah. Like all of the, so I call all relationships, all encounters, all things, those are all soul contracts. There's like small, tiny contracts and like huge contracts, like with you and your mother. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Things like that. So like um that is how I kind of understand that. But yes, so left angle cross, dealing with karma from a past life. Relationships are every single relationship. It's like it's a past life connection. You're continuing a story, finishing a story, resolving things. That's what healing karma is. Right angle cross, have a little bit more like freedom to like uh can I cuss on this podcast?
Oh my God, of course. Yeah. I do all
A
the
little
time.
bit more freedom to fuck around and find out. Kind of a thing.
Love
um,
it.
and then if you have the juxtaposition cross, these are the people that have like their life is like they're on train tracks
Mm.
and they will never veer off. Like if something happens in their life that veers them off track, something will happen to put them back on this track. So they're more like kind of like they have a fated destiny, but it's not fate in the sense of like, oh, it's bad. It's like
Mm.
they just have more of a direct path that they are on, that they are here to follow for this lifetime. And that's the
Okay.
difference between the three. But they are created from the personality sun and earth and the design sun and earth. And they are the same things that you find in the activation sequence of the gene keys. And that's how I would guide you to learn more about it, to have more of the experience of it. So there's three possible crosses. There's a right, a left, and a juxtaposition for every gate. That totals to is like 64 times 3. I think it's like 192 total possibilities.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot. There is a book though. I don't have
Wow.
it with me, but Raoru Hu wrote a book about the incarnation process. It's like kind of like a workbook type of thing.
Hmm.
And you can look up information there, but again, I really would recommend you look at the activation sequence of the gene keys to learn more about this incarnation cross. And the more important thing to know is the right versus left versus juxtaposition, meaning that will give more, that will help you a lot. You can look deeper into it, like where's your personality sun and earth in your human design chart? Where's the design sun and earth? What centers? You know,
Hmm.
are these completed channels or are these hanging gates? And then this is how you can kind of research a little bit further into this energy and where it lives in your chart, or get that book. It's called like Incarnation Crosses, and the author is Ra Uruhu, and that there's like short little, I don't know, like 2-3 paragraphs per incarnation cross that are very helpful.
Amazing. Thank you. So the last thing, I know we're like really hitting time. The last thing that I want to go over are just a few of the variables. Because again, these are things that some charts will tell you, some charts won't, and there's not a lot of information. So things like digestion and our strongest sense and our environment. What are those and how can we find more information on those as well?
You can find information online if you like really go search for it.
Mhm.
I have my experience with it is that it's best to just go um, get a reading from someone who knows about them and can kind of help you understand what they are.
Mhm.
So, what are the variables, right? So, the variables are basically these aspects, generally, like in the human design chart, that give you more information about what's the best way for you to ingest food, in what environment, are you going to digest food the best? So part of it has to do with like taking care of our body, and then part of it has to do with understanding how our mind and our cognition works. And so digestion is the part of taking care of your body. Environment is taking care of your body, whereas the perspective and the motivation and even the sense a little bit is more about like how your mind works in the environment, how you perceive things and how you understand things, and how you process things. So when you go into these layers of human design, you can get a lot of help with like, oh, I need to like rearrange my life in this way because
Mhm.
this is what serves me best. So digestion basically is like, how are you supposed to eat, and in what environment is that the best for you to eat, right? And
Mhm.
then the environment is for everything. It's like, what's the best environment for you? And that's going to help your design function optimally. And then with perspective, it's like just how you see the world, how you kind of process the world. And then your strongest sense is literally that. It's like you have one sense that is like, you can really count on that to really give you information about your environment, about people, about intuitive insights. They will come in through this strong sense, and the more you learn about the sense and how it works through you, the more that you can like step into more alignment. Everything in human design is about more alignment, like being in your design versus being in the not self. So if you're
Mhm.
doing the opposite of all these things, you're in the not self. Or if you don't trust these things in you, and you don't like, you're just doing the wrong thing because you're just not aware, then that's possibly just the conditioning. And so you have to, the whole thing about human design is you have to decondition yourself from all the things that you were taught that are not you. It's like you got to shed the layers and fully live in your design. And when you do that from in all of these ways and all of these layers, you will like be optimally functioning in the world and like being of
Mhm.
most service and finding whatever like is your signature, right? Like finding success or satisfaction or peace,
Mhm.
like in your life. And then the motivation is like what motivates you in life. Literally, it's like it's really that simple. And so there's different, each one of them has like different layers. So there's bunch of different combinations that you can have. So each one of them has
Mhm.
like 6 different options. Like digestion, there's 6 different digestions. There's 6 different like environments. And so depending on what you have is the combination unique to you.
Interesting. Okay. I will say, like, just even when I first found my human design chart and I learned my strategy, that made the biggest shift in my life, even just from that one little thing. So like when people look at their charts and like you guys actually start integrating all of the different things that allow your energy to flow better, your life is going to change so much. It's the most magical thing. Like I know I said that gene keys were magical too, but like human design has been one of the biggest game changers for me. I love it so much.
Oh my God. Like, same for me, because for the longest time in my life, I thought I knew deep inside that I was like a teacher. I didn't know how I was going to, I didn't know what it was, but I just felt it deep within. Had no idea where that was coming from. And then even when I went through college, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a professor in university. And then I went through this whole process of like, I hate university though, like I
Yeah.
love it and I hate it. It's like so limiting, and I'm so expansive in like my curiosity. I have a lot of Gemini in my chart. I have like Sun in Gemini, Gemini rising, North Node, Gemini, Chiron in
Mm,
Gemini. It's all in my 12th house, which is the house of spirituality. So I'm like truly meant to live a spiritual life and explore that realm. And that is not education, modern day education.
no.
I have educated myself in all of the occult, right? Like
Hmm.
all the things that are hidden, right? Hermetic alchemy, like sacred geometry, like these are all the things that just like activate me and like have always called my attention. And that is what I was meant to teach. So eventually life took me to a place where I started to actually learn the things that I wanted to learn. And as a projector, so I didn't know this, but a projector, you're meant to study. Like there's a field of
Mm,
study that is your thing. And it can be like anything, right? For me, it was like all of the occult knowledge and the mysteries of the universe and like ancient Atlantis and tarot and like all this stuff, all the mystical,
love
like
it.
astrology, all that stuff. And then I started my journey to study, to learn, because as a projector, you're supposed to have knowledge base that
Hmm.
is unique to you and your design that ultimately helps you to do the guiding that you're here to do as a projector. So then I found out I was a projector.
You're like, oh, this makes so much sense now.
And not only that, I found out I was a mental projector, which is very unique. And so projectors are only 20% of the population, and mental
Mm,
projectors are even less. And the mental projectors are really just here to like share their thoughts, share their perspectives, share their unique knowledge, like and there's a lot of things that I feel like truly, truly, truly what I feel like I'm here to do is just like channel the wisdom that I attain through all the teachings and all the things that I study. And that's literally what I have been doing. And I didn't even know. But when I found out, I was like, oh my God, because that came with the strategy. And the
mm,
strategy for a projector is wait for the invitation. And
mhm.
that is the biggest that when we learn our strategy, right? When we learn to use our strategy correctly, and there's different strategies based off of your design, you really truly start to live fully your design. And it's hard because we are trained usually with the strategy, we're doing the opposite thing.
Yeah. I call in a lot of projectors into my life, like sisters, best friends, like just so many people in my life seem to be projectors. And like I've never even heard it described the way you did, where you just said you need to do a lot of research first. Like I've always heard, oh, you just recognize the patterns, like you analyze patterns and then you like share your findings and find a new way of doing things, and then
Mhm.
obviously waiting for the invitation. But just the way that you've just described it, then it like sheds a whole new light on what a projector is. Can you do manifestor as well? Because now I'm really curious how you would explain
Yeah,
it.
so the manifestor actually, so your strategy is to inform so that you
Yeah.
don't experience resistance from people. So the manifestor actually has the easiest path through because they don't have, if they're informing, they can just go and do the thing that they want to do. So the impulse for you, it's different because you're an emotional manifestor, which means that there is a layer, your authority is emotional authority. So there's a layer where you have to sort of wait in order to initiate the action, but you're basically initiating your whole life. Like you have things that you want to do, and you have this sort of like path that you can completely clear of any resistance if you just inform, if you just let people know I am going to do this, and then they're like okay, and you go, and it's like because you have the closed and repelling aura. And that is like a bowling ball. I describe it like the bowling ball aura. It's
Yeah.
like you can just go through life and like push the pins out of the way. But if you do it through the strategy, which is to inform, the pins just get out of your way by themselves, kind of a thing. And then you can go and do the thing that you want to do. So for manifestors, it is much easier. The thing you have to wait for is the emotional clarity before you
Yeah.
act.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is that I never thought that I was doing that. Like, I definitely used to react impulsively when I was younger and before I even had discovered what shadow work was or any personal development. But then when I learned that I had emotional authority and I had to kind of wait till I was neutral and that I would never really feel like 100%, I was like, that doesn't seem right. Like, I feel like I make decisions on a whim all the time. Like, when I moved from Toronto to London for the second time, in my head, I was like, I made that decision overnight. But when I actually reflected and looked back, I was like, no, I'd actually been thinking about leaving Toronto for months before I decided, okay, I'm finally going to London. Like, it took a long time to get there. And it just, I
Mhm.
wasn't even seeing that I was doing that because in my head, it was like, okay, London, I'm off I go. And that was it. So it's like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy when you actually
that's great.
reflect and you can see.
Yeah, totally. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pretty magical world that you can just you're unlocking the keys to like who you truly are when you look at any of these systems. And if you're drawn to that, then you should do it. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
like you can't force, they say you can guide a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink
Can't
it.
make it drink.
And so this is really a personal thing. It's like if you feel the call personally, like go find the people in your life that will guide you in the right direction to find the right person to work with or whatever that will help you to understand yourself. But if you feel the call, I say 100% go into that space because it's like you're being called, like it's time for
Yeah.
you to like fully step into your purpose and your design. And there's so many people that just spend their whole lives wondering, but the work takes time,
Yeah.
so it's better to start now than later to
Mm-hmm.
go through the
That's
process of understanding. Yeah.
I was one of those people just wondering. I was always like, why is it some days, like when I was in corporate, that I can get my entire tasks for the entire week done in like 2 hours, and then there's some days it takes me an entire day to send one email. Like, I didn't understand it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
because the manifestor energy comes in spurts, and like
Right.
just yeah, every little thing that I found out just made me feel more sane, validated the feelings that I was feeling, and allowed me to stop trying to fit into the boxes that I was told I had to kind of fit into. And it
Mm-hmm.
just everything flowed so much easier. So if people do want to get either their gene keys or their human design, or I guess even astrology read with you, where can they go to do that? What are you offering at the moment?
Okay. Well, actually, right now that we're recording this video, I'm doing a holiday special, and it's a 30-minute reading, and it also comes with a copy of my book that I wrote, Seasons and Stargates: Your Annual Astrology Guide for 2024 and
Oh.
2025, which goes through the seasons of astrology via the lens of like how to work through the energy of the season that is here
Mm.
astrologically. What are the astrological aspects happening, how they're going to be affecting us. Then there's a full moon and a new moon for that season, like a horoscope. So that's what I'm doing right now. But if you want to work personally with me, you can just go to my website, channelforgrace.com, and then you can click on the menu bar and just like book with Jai, I think it says, and it'll show you all the different things that I do. I offer all kinds of different readings. So it's like you could just work personally with me, like one on one, or you can book like a starseed reading, which is a whole nother topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do like past life regression, QHHT,
Okay.
so and Akashic readings. So, anyways, but with specific with human design, I would recommend the one-on-one option. So it's like there's a 30-minute option and a 1 hour option. And those you can find on the
Amazing.
website. Yeah.
Is the QHHT the Dolores Cannon
Yeah.
method? I
Yeah.
thought so. Okay. Amazing. I love that. No, I mean my whole podcast, it used to be called Starseed School. So everyone generally listening is very much in that kind of like
That's awesome. I
starseed,
love that.
at their lifetime kind of like energy. So
Yeah.
that'll resonate with a lot of people listening for
Oh,
sure.
nice. Awesome. Thank you for letting me
Amazing.
share that. I appreciate it. And thanks for
Oh,
having
of
me.
course. Of course. Thank you for coming. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you feel called to share in regards to either of them or even astrology or any of the other things?
I think what's so cool about you asking me to do this podcast is that we're actually recording it on the day that Pluto enters Aquarius. He's entering
Oh.
just like a few hours. I know it's crazy. And I say that the only thing I want to say last is that we're entering into like this new world, this new age,
Mhm.
this like new experience. Humanity is like changing like massively right now, and it's
Yeah.
happening fast. Like, and right now is definitely the time to like start doing the more internal work. And I do call this the internal work because
Mm.
it takes you into a space of awareness that most people unfortunately on the planet are lacking, and not everyone's meant to become aware of themselves in this way. But if you feel called, like this is the time, like set your intention for how you want to like move into this like new world, and this would be a great way to do that. It's like just start studying who you are, like who are you, what are you here to give to the
Yeah.
world and share and be of service. And yeah, that's all I want to say. Just mention that really cool transit that's
Amazing.
happening today.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that. I had no idea. So that's very synchronistic, especially because we had to push it from when we originally planned.
Right,
So like,
that's true. That's true. Yeah,
yeah,
it just changed.
everything happens for a reason. I love
Mhm.
that.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.